Hey y'all. So, I recently found the latest released book in this series of books that I absolutely adore. It's my favorite ever. Even my boyfriend, who doesn't even like books really, is fucking super addicted to them. Maybe more than I am, even. It's a series by J.R. Ward, J.R.W.A.R.D., called the Black Dagger Brotherhood. And if you've never read it, well, I suggest you take a seat. Sit down and make yourself relaxed, because tonight I am motherfucking Mother Goose. So, I'm going to start at chapter 1, obviously. Darius looked around the club, taking the teeming, half-naked bodies on the dance floor. Screamers was packed tonight, full of women wearing leather and men who looked like they had advanced degrees in violent crime. Darius and his companion fit right in, except they actually were killers. "So, you're really going to do this?" Torment asked him. Darius glanced across the shallow table. The other vampire's eyes met his own. "Yeah, I am." Torment nursed his scotch and smiled grimly. Only the very tips of his fangs showed. "You're crazy, D. You should know." Torment tilted his glass in deference. "But you're raising the bar. You want to take an innocent girl who has no idea what the hell she's getting into and put her transition in the hands of someone like Wrath. That's whacked. He isn't evil, in spite of the way he looks." Darius finished his beer. "Show a little respect." Okay, so, like I said, I love this series. It's completely fucking underrated. I really don't understand how, Twilight and 50 Shades is out there with movies and shit and big-ass fan base. And this one doesn't have movies yet. It is way better than both those combined. Maybe not, subtracting each other because they're both pretty bad. But whatever. Okay? It's great. Alright. So he's show a little respect. I respect the hell out of him, but it's a bad idea. I need him. You sure about that? A woman wearing a micro-mini, thigh-high boots, and a bustier made of change trolled by their table. Her eyes glittered from behind 2 pounds of mascara, and she worked her walk as if her hips were double-jointed. Darius gave her a pass. Sex was not on his mind tonight. "She's my daughter, Tor. She's a half-breed, D. And you know how he feels about humans." Torment shook his head. "My great-great-grandmother was one. You don't see me yakking that up around him." Darius lifted his hand to catch their waitress's eye and pointed at his empty bottle and Torment's nearly dry glass. "I'm not going to let another one of my children die. Not if there's a possibility I can save her. And anyway, there's no telling whether she'll even go through the change. She could end up living a happy life, never knowing about my side. It's happened before." And he hoped his daughter would be spared, because if she went through her transition, if she came out alive on the other side as a vampire, she was going to be hunted, as they all were. "Darius, if he does it at all, he'll do it because he owes you, not because he wants to. I'll take him any way I can get him." "But what are you giving her? He's about as nurturing as a sawed-off, and that first time can be rough, even if you've been prepared, which she hasn't. I'm going to talk to her." "And how's that going to go? You're going to walk up to her and say, 'Hey, I know you've never seen me before, but I'm your dad. Oh, and guess what? You've won the evolutionary lottery. You're a vampire. Let's go to Disneyland.' I hate you right now." Torment leaned forward, his thick shoulders shifting under black leather. You know I got your back. I'm just thinking you should reconsider. There's a heavy pause. Maybe I could do it. Darius shot him a dry look. You want to try and get back into your house after the fact? Wellesley will stake you through the heart and leave you for the sun, my friend. Torment winced. Good point. And then she'll come looking for me. Both males shuddered. Wellesley, being Torment's wife, of course, she's amazing. So I've read this series all the way up to the 16th book, which is what we're on right now. And I decided, why, I don't know, like, why not make videos of myself reading them? Because I've always been told I'm a pretty good, reader, entertaining. I love reading. I love this series. I've read it already. I feel like she does not get enough credit as an author at all. J.R. Ward, that is. I've got a really small subscriber count, so I really don't see how it'd be any kind of deal. Plus, I'm gonna add my own commentary, which I was talking to my boyfriend earlier, and he's like, this is why the books take forever to read when you read them, because I just already do it anyway. I'll always stop and make my own. I don't know, I analyze the fuck out of it and shit it's a real fucking life situation. I'm so fucking personally invested. I don't think I'm the only one who does that too, though, am I? Yeah? Yeah? Anyone? Hello? Oh, crickets. Besides, Darius leaned back as the waitress put their drinks down. He waited until she left, even though hardcore rap was pumping all around them. Besides, we're living in dangerous times. If something happens to me, I'll take care of her. Darius clapped his friend on the shoulder. I know you will. But wrath is better. There was no jealousy in the remark. It was a statement of fact. There's no one like him. And thank God for that, Torrent said with a half-smile. They're banded brothers, a tight circle of strong-backed warriors who traded information and fought together, were of the same opinion. Wrath was off the chain when it came to the business of vengeance, and he hunted their enemies with a single-minded purpose that bordered on the insane. He was the last of his line, the only purebred vampire left on the planet, and though his race revered him as its king, he despised its status. It was almost tragic that he was the best Darius's half-breed daughter had of surviving. Wrath's blood, so strong, so untainted, would increase the chances of her getting through the transition if it hit her. But Torment wasn't off the mark. It was like turning a virgin over to a thug. So the transition is extreme. It's fucking intense. And basically they go through puberty and shit all at once. Their bones all fucking grow. All this shit all at the same time. Very fucking painful. Their fangs and shit coming out. It's cool. Alright. With a sudden rush, the crowd shifted, people backing into each other. They were making way for someone. Or something. Shit. Here he comes, Torment muttered. He tossed back his scotch, swallowing it whole. No offense, but I'm outy. This is not a conversation I need to be a part of. Darius watched the sea of humans split as they steered clear of an imposing dark shadow that towered over them. The flight response was a good survival reflex. Wrath was 6 feet, 6 inches of pure terror dressed in leather. His hair was long and black, falling straight from a widow's peak. Wraparound sunglasses hid eyes that no one had ever seen revealed. Shoulders were twice the size of most males. With a face that was both aristocratic and brutal, he looked like the king he was by birthright and the soldier he'd become by destiny. And that wave of menace rolling ahead of him was one hell of a calling card. As the cool air hit Darius, he tilted his fresh beer back and drank deeply. He hoped to God he was doing the right thing. Bum, bum, bum. Alright, so this writer's great. I don't know, she'll skip to the next part, so, character, whatever. Beth Beth Randall looked up as her editor leaned his hip on her desk. His eyes went straight to the V of her shirt. "Working late again," he murmured. "Hey, Dick. Shouldn't you be getting home to your wife and 2 kids?" she mentally added. "What are you doing?" "Editing a piece for Tony. You know, there are other ways of impressing me." Yeah, she could just imagine. "Did you read my email, Dick? I went down to the police station this afternoon and talked with Josh and Ricky. They swear a gun dealer's moved into town. They found 2 modified magnums on drug dealers." Dick reached out to pat her shoulder, stroking it as he took his hand back. You just keep working the blotter. Let the big boys worry about the violent crimes. We wouldn't want anything to happen to that pretty face of yours." He smiled, eyes growing hooded as his gaze lingered on her lips. That stare routine had gotten old 3 years ago, she thought, right after she'd started working for him. A paper bag. What she needed was a paper bag to pull over her head whenever she talked with him, maybe with a picture of Mrs. Dick taped to the front. "Would you like me to give you a ride home?" he asked. "Only if it were raining thumbtacks and hairpins, you lech," she thought. "No, thanks." Beth turned back to her computer screen and hoped he'd take the hint. Eventually, he wandered off. "God Berber." Eventually, he wandered off, probably heading for the bar across the street that most of the reporters hit before going home. Caldwell, New York, wasn't exactly a hotbed of opportunity of any journalist. But Dick's big boys sure liked keeping up the appearance of carrying a heavy social burden. Side note, I fucking love Pepsi. That's all. Not sponsored. That'd be hilarious. Alright. Excuse you. Alright. They relished cozying up to the bar at Charlie's and talking about the days when they'd worked at bigger, more important papers. For the most part, they were just like Dick, middle-aged, middle-of-the-road men who were competent, but not extraordinary at what they did. Caldwell was big enough and close enough to New York City to have the nasty business of violent crimes, drug bust, and prostitution, so they were kept busy. But the Caldwell Courier-Journal was not the Times, and none of them was ever going to win a Pulitzer. It was rather sad. Okay, so just on a real note, I think everyone can relate to that. Like, I don't know, unless you're, like, super young, like, getting to a point in your life, you're like, so yeah, what am I doing with my life again? Maybe not, maybe it's just fucking me. I mean, I don't even brush my hair regularly. And I don't care. Yeah, well, look in the mirror, Beth thought. She was just a beat reporter. She'd never even worked at a national level paper. So, when she was in her 50s, unless things changed, she'd have to be at a free press, polishing classifieds to have a shot at reflected glory from her CCJ days. She reached for the bag of M&Ms she'd been nursing. Damn thing was empty. Again. Oh, I also love chocolate. She should probably just go home and pick up some Chinese down the street. It'll start getting interesting. Like, more interesting. On her way out of the newsroom, which was an open space cut up into cubicles by flimsy gray partitions, she hit her buddy Tony's stash of Twinkies. Tony ate all the time. For him, there was no breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Consumption was a binary proposition. If he was awake, something was going into his mouth, and to keep himself supplied, his desk was a treasure trove of caloric depravity. Tony sounds like me. Dear word. you? Kidding. She peeled off the cellophane and couldn't believe she was biting into the artificial swill as she hit the lights and walked down the stairwell to Trade Street. Outside, the heat of July was a physical barrier between her and her apartment. 12 straight blocks of hot and humid. Fortunately, the Chinese restaurant was halfway home and heavily air-conditioned. With any luck, they'd be busy tonight, so she'd get to wait a while in the coolness. When she was finished with the Twinkie, I take that theory about Tony being me back. I don't like Twinkies. Sorry, not sorry. They're like fucking styrofoam with sugar cream in the middle, and I love cream. I love sugar. Fucking no. I'm sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Hate me all you fucking want. You know when like it was all, oh no, Twinkies is like, you know, like, fucking going away like Blockbuster basically. Everyone's all freaking out. I was like, good fucking riddance, to be honest. And of course, you know, they didn't really go away. People love Twinkies. I don't get it. But you like what you like. I mean, fuck. More for y'all, because I don't like them. Alright. When she was finished with the Twinkie, she flipped open her phone, hit speed dial, and put in an order for beef with broccoli. As she walked along, she looked at the familiar, grim landmarks. Along the stretch of Trade Street, there were only bars, strip clubs, and the occasional tattoo parlor. The Chinese food place and the Tex-Mex buffet were the only two restaurants. The rest of the buildings, which had been used as offices in the 20s, when downtown had been thriving, were vacant. She knew every crack in the sidewalk. She could time the traffic lights, and the patois of sound drifting out of open doors and windows offered no surprises either. Alright, so sometimes I don't know how to pronounce a word. I'm gonna try my fucking best. Whatever. Get over it if you don't like it. Yeah. So I'm gonna finish right there for now. And pick up again. Because I don't... Yeah, it's a while till chapter 2. So, thank you all for listening as far as you have. And... whatever. Peace, deuces. Peace from the Middle East. Peace out, Girl Scout. Peace, love, and chicken grease. How are girls supposed to